All right, cool. Hey guys, hope you guys are doing good. So I'm gonna get started here. What's new in CAMWorks 2012, and then I actually also I threw in a couple of tips in here, a couple of other things that I kind of like came across that I would like to share with you guys. So I'm not quite sure how long this is gonna run. It's not gonna run an hour, that's for sure. I'm gonna try to keep it short. Just kind of like show you guys some of the things that is new, and also if there is any questions, you're more than welcome to put them into the questions area in there, and we can take care of it. So for you guys who don't know me, my name is Lars, and I'm an application engineer here at CAD Dimensions, and I'm also dealing with some of this fun stuff of CAMWorks. So 2012, just kind of like wanted to kind of like show you guys some of the new things they put in there and stuff like that. Like I said, I have a couple of other things I just wanted to share with you too, and I will have your attention. So I'm just kind of like gonna get going with this here. So I'm gonna start out by getting out of this PowerPoint, right? We don't want to look at that. So I'm gonna start out by going in here and looking at our Solidworks. And if you go into your help menu and you go into your CAMWorks and you go into what's new, there you will get the what's new PDF that I have it on my other screen here, that CAMWorks releases. And this is kind of like what I went through and want to show some of the things through here. And some of the other things that they have in this, they kind of like update on in here is CPRs. So things that have been fixed from the CAMWorks problems report. You can access those if you want to go through those. If you go down to your start menu and you go into all your programs, and if you go into your CAMWorks folder in here you actually have, if you go into the what's new, you have this manual here, but in here you also have the resolved SPRs. It's a Word document that goes through all the different things that have been fixed, I think over a very long time, over a few years or so. I've never really sat down and really read through it, but that's why you could go in and check if you have submitted anything into different issues you found and stuff like that. So that's kind of like the two ways that you can go, and you kind of like can look through stuff. So the what's new, of course, is always great to look through, and then if there's any bugs you have reported and have they now been resolved. Now the what's new in CAMWorks 2012, we did get cut a little short with enhancements this year, because there was a request that CAMWorks would move their release cycle to be closer to Solidworks. In the past, so Solidworks gets released in October, and CAMWorks used to release then in January, February, but users was requesting that it would be closer to Solidworks, so you know, people only have to do a major upgrade once instead of have to upgrade first Solidworks and later on CAMWorks. So now CAMWorks comes within a week and a half after Solidworks is released. So the develop got cut a little bit short, but we still got a couple of neat things thrown in there that I definitely would like to show you here. So first of all, if we go in and just open up a document, I'm just going to go in and open up this template that I have here. That is just a main extrusion here. I'm going to playing around with a little bit. You're going to see a couple of those as we're going along here. One thing that was new in 2012 for SolidWorks was this command search. I don't know if you guys have played around up here. I think by default SolidWorks comes with the Solidworks Help, but now in the SolidWorks we now have this command search, which is really great for finding commands in SolidWorks. You can actually activate that one with your S key on your keyboard. So if you hit the S key on your keyboard, you get that menu they introduced, I think in 2010, 2011. But as soon as I hit that one, it actually also triggers to be able to write up here. So now you can search for stuff up here, like if you want to search inside SolidWorks for something like move copy, you can click on the eyeglasses and it will now inside SolidWorks show you where those features is. But that actually also works for CAMWorks. So if you go in here and you start typing something in here, you will actually see that the pattern project from CAMWorks is displayed in here too. So this thing here also works for CAMWorks, but was something I just kind of like came across by accident. So that's kind of neat. So nothing new really with CAMWorks, but more about how Solidworks Enhancement actually also applies for CAMWorks. One of the things that they did new here, and I'm just going to show that in the what's new, is that they put a bunch of enhancements in for setup sheets. I am not a XML guru. We have Scott Blackwell in our Rochester office. He's the guy I normally just send to, but if you guys are jumping into that you can actually play around and edit these setup sheets, and they added some pretty neat things, I think, in here that you can now get out in your setup sheets, such as your total machining time, and they also have some part numbers and stuff like that. So they added a bunch of that in there. Now your setup sheets, as you may know, you can get to those right inside SolidWorks when you by right-clicking and set your setup sheets. Now your setup sheets actually are located, if you go out to your Windows Explorer and you go into your C drive and you go into your CAMWorks data and you go into your CAMWorks folder, and in here in your language you will see in here you have your setup sheet templates for whatever machine you're working with, and there's some different ones in here that you can play around with. What I would recommend you to do is, like I have done here, make a copy of our original one and test that out first. Don't just start messing around with the ones that comes in here, but actually make a copy is normally a good practice. So make a copy, make your changes, so you see what you get. You don't lose the original. But there's some neat things in here with setup sheets. Now, on another note, they have done stuff with groupings. So groupings that you've probably seen, you see it most of the times when it comes to holes operations and stuff like that inside SolidWorks. And I haven't really prepared a lot here, so I'm just going to kind of like go ahead and sketch stuff up as we're going along here. So what they have done, normally with grouping, if I go in and open up a sketch, and I'm just going to make 2 circle cuts here. I'm just going to put some dimensions on here. Let's make this 1 inch. And now if I go ahead and I just go ahead and make these 2 equal, so we have 2, they gotta be identical diameters here and identical depth. If I cut these down, some kind of a depth here, doesn't really matter, watch. So now I got these 2 identical holes. If I go into CAMWorks and just run the feature recognition in here, we will see that they automatically get this group operation in here. So these 2 now, and the ideal thing about that is that when we process it into our operation tree, that we now actually have them, within one. We can edit both holes within one operation, so we don't have the 2 operations. What they have done with 2012 is that they have actually also edited this for curves and for open profiles and for engraving too, what can be kind of handy. So let's just get rid of this here. I'm just going to delete this here. So if we go in and open up a sketch on this top face here, and let's start some kind of a text, and I'm just going to throw it along this edge here, and we could just be really creative and call it test. And of course we got the CAMWorks font in here, right, that comes with it here. We can use that, and we can make some kind of a size here with points. So there we got this operation here. So now if I go in to CAMWorks and I say I want to insert a 2.5 axis feature, and I want it to be the engraved feature, so I'm going to select the sketch here, sketch free, and I'm going to just make it 10 thousandths deep. So now we got this engraving operation here. Now if I go back over and start another sketch, and let's be more creative and name it something else. Don't use document font. Go back over and change that to the CAMWorks font, so we get the stick font. We can actually machine, right? So we have this one here. Now if I go in and does the same thing with this one, go in and say I want to insert a 2.5 axis feature, and that's going to be sketch 4. And we're going to make that one also 10 thousandths deep. So now we got these two operations in here. Now if I process these, we will have two different areas to change our depth of cuts and all kinds of stuff. What we now can do is we can right click and we can say insert groove, and now we will see in here that I picked the top one, what was feature 1. Now I can go over and say feature 2, I want to add that to the groove just by right clicking on it, and now it becomes one there. So that can be kind of handy if you have some different curves or open profiles. I definitely like this. So we only have one place we gotta edit that kind of stuff. So so that's kind of like one of the things they've done with the grooves, that they've added those in there. Let's get out of this block here. All right. Another thing that they have added is on the lathe, they have added a work in progress, and now you can choose none. So what that really means is, if I go in here and open up a template here, and I'm just going to sketch something on the front, I'm going to revolve this, and I'm not going to be very creative in my drawing here. Something that looks like this. That is not very creative, I have to admit it. All right, so we got something like this here. If I go to CAMWorks, and I'm now going to change it over to be a lathe operation, choose our harding. Now I have not defined any extra stock on this part here. It's like the diameter is finished and the ends are finished. If I go ahead and I run the CAMWorks extract machinable features on this, all CAMWorks sees is it will see on our operation is this one area here plus the cutoff, right? If I go in and I hit the roughing operation, it will just rough this portion out, and if I go in and hit the turn feature, it will also just finish this area here, because that it sees that there's no material in here, right? So if I go in now and I was going in to simulate this, speed it up a little bit, maybe a little bit more, huh? And there's yellow's going to be our finished, and there's our cutoff, what I don't really care about. But what they have done now with the working progress to none on the finish tool operation is that you can now, if we go into the turn finish operation in here, and we go over to our finish turn, over here we got the left work in progress. We now have an option down here called none. So pretty much what it's going to look at, it's going to look at the model, and it don't really care about where there is or isn't any material. So if you hit OK, now that finished cut will actually do the whole profile. So this is kind of nice, I think, with you know, where the part is kind of like finished or something like that, but you just actually want that finished tool to come in and do that whole area there. So that's just the thing to play with, and that is actually one thing too that is kind of neat to play around with this work in progress stuff. I definitely recommend, maybe if you haven't played around with it, go in and read the help for it. Hit help and find the leftover, because there's some neat things you can do in here with initial stock, and you can actually apply a new stock too, so you can mess around with that. So I would definitely do that. All right, so that is that one there. Now here's another thing that I just learned. I just learned this recently from actually it was from what is it called? Now I just lost the Solid Professor videos. I had never thought about this. If I go in and I open a assembly document here, but I don't put anything in it, but I go, if you have Premium Professional, you will have Toolbox. So I'm going to go over to Toolbox, and inside Toolbox, now of course I'd already browsed there. If you go into Toolbox, you select your standard, and in your standard you can select power transmissions, and in here you can actually select gears, and you can actually create gears inside Solidworks. And I got an issue with dragging and dropping on my computer. I can't drag and drop. Hang on, I'm going to do a little trick here I learned here. So now I can drag and drop. So now you can see here that I can actually create a gear in here with all the different areas in here. With the pitch diameter, we can change that. We can go in and we can create the number of teeth we want to put in here. You have all these different options for what you want to do. You can create hops, overall length, and all these different things in here. So this is actually a pretty neat way to go in and create a gear. And anytime I've created a gear inside SolidWorks, I've always done it as a, drawing up the teeth and just went ahead and just did it from scratch. I actually never thought about going into our Toolbox and look for it in there. And in here now we can actually save this out as a part. So that's one of the things we can do there. So that's pretty neat. Good stuff? Good. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see what the next thing is here. Now I just got my GoToMeeting box showing up here. All right, so that's pretty neat that we can actually do that from inside Toolbox. All right. Another thing that they have added that they kind of like have taken from SolidWorks is the pin feature. So let me just show you inside CAMWorks here. So I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to open up a part file here. And what we can do now is if I go in and say that I want to insert a mill part setup, so I'm going to go in and mill part setup, and I'm fine with the bottom there. I'm just going to flip the direction and hit the green check mark. If I want to do a multi-surface thing on this one, I go in and right click and say insert a multi-surface feature. We now have a pin feature up here. So in standard CAMWorks, it was always like it was pinned, but meant that you would select something and then the menu will kind of like stay up there and you kind of like had to exit out of it. With this new feature here, it kind of like works a little bit like SolidWorks does, where if you leave it unpinned, when I'm done with the operation, it will go away. So if I say select all associate here, so we selected all the features here, when I hit the green check mark, this menu is going to go away, right? And now we have the multi operation here. Let me delete it and empty it out of the cycle bin. Now if I go in and do the same thing again and I leave it checked, select all, hit the green check mark, it's going to stay in there like it's ready for the next operation. And in a way, my first thought when I heard about this was like, okay, no really big deal. But sometimes it's actually nice that you can go in, if you wanted to break it up to different operation and you wanted to select some stuff over here for one strategy and maybe something over here for another strategy, it could be nice that this thing you could pin it. Actually in SolidWorks, this pin and unpin also have kind of like multiple purposes. I don't know if you guys knew that, so let me just show you that. So here you get a little bit of SolidWorks here. If I go in and open up an assembly, so I got this assembly here, and I'm just going to go ahead and open up one of the clamps here by itself. So just open this one up here. Now, oh, and of course I have it set to opaque, but it's really great. Well, not to worry about that. If I on my assembly here go ahead and say insert component, up here we also have the thumb tag here. I don't know if you knew this. If I go in and just select that one clamp to insert it in here, when I left click in here, that dialog also goes away, right? It kind of like jumps out of it again. But if you ever need to insert multiple of the same component, if you hit that little thumb tag there and you click here, now you can actually insert as many of these as you want. It's not going to go away. So if you got to insert a lot of parts, this is really a neat way to get a lot of parts inside SolidWorks too. So just like in CAMWorks in here, they kind of like put that little thing in there and a neat little feature in there. So I hope that you like that. Another thing I wanted to show you guys that I just thought of when I did this whole thing here. Let me open up this part again that we just had here. So what I did was I went in and I said I wanted to insert a mill part setup, and I wanted it from the other direction like this, and then I went in and say insert a multi-surface feature, and I then selected all of them here. This was maybe the way that most of it we would do if we wanted to do a surface milling on this one. Have you ever noticed that you actually can save yourself a few steps here? When I insert that mill part setup, actually inside this dialog where we can flip this one up and down, we actually down here in this section have a couple of neat things in here. We can actually go in and say if we needed to face a part or perimeter of a part, or down here I got the same button, mill multi-surface feature, and now I could just change my output here, and I can now hit the green check mark, and I've done all that in one. So, you know, that I sometimes forget about that, but that's actually a pretty neat trick that you can just go ahead here and do that. Other thing that I put in on my list here that they put in, they say that they've improved the capabilities of saving large files out of assemblies with if they have a lot of toolpath in it. So they say that you know, saving large assemblies with a lot of toolpath used to take many minutes is now down to seconds. So that's one thing to just know if you have had to fight with that in the past. Another thing I wanted to show you is in regards to they have added in here with the contain and avoid area. So if I take this toolpath here and I process this, let's just run it through here. Now we will see that we got our surface milling going over here. One of the things that they have added in here with the avoid contain area is that they've actually enhanced it a little bit. If I go over, and I'm just going to go back to my tree here, and I'm just going to insert a sketch, something creative. I'm just going to go and hit the hexagon here and sketch something weird looking, right? So now I got this sketch sitting up here, sketch number 9. If I go in and do a contain area, for example, and I select that sketch number 9, now they have actually added a little bit of coloring to it in here, so you can easier see what it's going to affect. Now I know this is not a big deal, but it's actually kind of nice when you're working with it that you can now, it's easier to see what area you have selected. Of course, when it comes to the avoid contain, you actually don't have to use sketches inside SolidWorks. We can actually also, if right click and say contain area, we can also select edges right out of here, and you will see that that is now going to be the contain area. I don't know if you guys have ever played around with some of the options that's in here, but it's definitely things to kind of like look out for. That you can offset it in here, and you can do this both on the sketches and on if you're just picking it out like I just did here, and you have the up to contains here. We actually have another option we can do in here. If I go into SolidWorks, and let me just start a sketch right up here on the face here, and just sketch a hole, blast a hole through this part, extrude cut. And I'm just going to select through all. So now we got that there. All right. Now we got the drilled hole too. Now if we go in now and we look at that, we can see how the tool path kind of like jerks down there like that. So here would also be a good option to use a void area maybe. So if I go in and select this edge here. Now be aware of that one of the options we have, if I just check finish here, now it's going to avoid this this hole. But there is actually another checkbox in here called machine over. So if I check this one, it literally just going to ignore that hole is there, and it's just going to fly over that. So that can be nice if you're doing like cavities and stuff like that. You have a bunch of holes down, you know, in the bottom for injector pins and stuff like that, that you can, or the core pins and stuff like that, that you can actually go ahead and now you can see that it will not dip down there. So these avoid areas here have some neat options into it. Okay. Next thing that they have added in here, we're not going to save this. Next thing we have added in here is they have added some things, and they're done in the mill, and now it's coming into, next thing is mill turn, is enhancement to the tool library. So I got this part here, and if I go in and change this over to a mill turn machine, you will see in the tool crib that they now have added this section down here, access right into the library. And actually they have kind of like worked both in in mill and lathe and now mill turn, they have been working with this section in here. Now in turn, you cannot create new tools and save tools and delete tools right out of the technology database, but you can use this up here. So this is actually a neat way to get into the adding your tools to your tool cribs and stuff like that right from this dialog here. So that's right, the tool crib right next to where you select your machine. But now down here, we can actually go in and we can add new tools. And we can save these back into our technology database if we want to, into the Access database. So that's a new thing they've added for the mill turn in here. All right. The next thing is they have continued working on improving the performance and the recognition of manufacturing view. So for people who've used CAMWorks for a long time, if I go into the CAMWorks, well, let me go into the toolbar here. If I go into our CAMWorks options and I go to our mill features, over here the method is using to extract machinable features is manufacturing view. It used to be AFR. Back in the old days, that's what it used to find stuff with, but now it is actually manufacturing view is the one that they're developing on. They left both of them because there is certain things where the AFR will pick up better than the manufacturing view, but they're saying that manufacturing view should be the best option. So that's probably what you want to use, and that is what is default too. But so manufacturing view is what they're developing from here on out. And the manufacturing view, I mean, what CAMWorks is using to extract all these machinable features here, of course, is coming out of the same thing we're using for FeatureWorks, right? If you have premiums, professional premium inside of Solidworks, and you go to your add-ons, you got the FeatureWorks here, right, where we can take a dumb solid and we can turn it in and have a tree created inside Solidworks, a feature tree. That's the same algorithms. This is actually also the algorithms that is in the new 2012 for Solidworks is used for the new module called costing. So Solidworks now have a costing module that will work on machining parts and on sheet metal parts, and where it will go in and it would analyze this part and come up with a price. And that's actually also geometrics algorithms that is used in FeatureWorks, that is used in CAMWorks, and now also in Solidworks costing. This is another thing to look into. This is brand new for 2012 inside Solidworks, the Solidworks costing thing. So that's definitely worth taking a look at. But the manufacturing view inside of CAMWorks, they're keeping on working on this and making it better. So that have gotten some more recognition here. The next thing that they're advertising is that their Z-level sorting, when it's recognizing features, has been improved too. So I thought that's definitely, when you hear something like that, you gotta test it out. So I'm gonna go in here and open up just a dummy block again here, and I'm just gonna open up and make a cut on the top face here. Nothing really important. So I'm just going to make a cut down here, and let's make it like 300 thousandths deep. And then, because I want to challenge this, I'm going to go in and I'm actually going to make another sketch in here, make it a little bit shorter, and I'm going to make this one deep. So extrude this depth here. I'm going to make that one pretty deep. So that's my second cut. And then I'm going to make a third cut that I'm going to make a little bit shallower than that. So on purpose, I am making these cuts in a different order in the feature tree here. Oops, wrong way. So this one's going to be a little bit shorter than that. So I created this cut first, then I created this deep cut, and then I created this one here. So this one is kind of like in the middle. Now when we go into FeatureWorks, into CAMWorks, and we hit extract machinable features, now they're saying that they have found them in the right order. So the first order is this depth here, the second order is this depth here, and the third order is there. So it did. So it recognizes it from the top and down and puts it into the right order. Now it also claims that if you insert another depth now manually, when you regenerate it, it will find things in the right depth. But that is only in this feature tree. Whatever you have in your operation tree will not update. So you just gotta be careful about that. That could screw you up. You cannot just go in your feature tree and just insert something and be like, okay, good. CAMWorks will take care of the order of the Z depth in the right order. It will in here, but not in the operation tree. Maybe that is coming later on. I'm not quite sure about the code thing. All right, next thing I want to show you is next thing is turn, mill turn things that they have added in there to short things. So one of the things in here is, if we go in, and I'm just going to open up another empty document and do my fancy revolved part here. So we're going to go ahead, sketch a line up like this. And I'm going to revolve this around. Okay. Now, normally, if we insert a turn feature ourselves in here, what CAMWorks does in the background is it's kind of like cutting the plane through the part and looking at it that way, as like almost like a section view. So let me go in here and pick some kind of a lathe. Doesn't really matter. And I'm going to go and insert a turn setup. And in here, we're going to go in and insert a turn feature. And as soon as I do that, you can see how it's showing up the profile of it here. It's kind of like just making a plain section view through the part, and this is what it's using. But they've actually added a revolved section in here too. Let me show you. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make a little part that is sticking up here. I'm going to create that little block in 45 degrees. So I'm going to go into Solidworks, and I'm actually going to create a reference plane. So I'm going to go ahead and say reference plane, and I'm just going to select the top plane here as my first option, so I get that. And by default, when you're using Solidworks planes, it always makes it an offset whenever you select a face. But I want to rotate this plane in 45 degrees. So what I'm going to do is, the next thing I got to do for my second reference is I'm going to select an edge it can rotate about. Now, many people forget this. Anything in SolidWorks that is around has a temporary axis through it that you can turn on through the view. So if I click on that one there and I select that, now I actually got something I can rotate this thing about. So now I can actually create this plane in some kind of an angle. Okay, I'm leaving 47 degrees just for the heck of it. So now I got this here, and I'm going to open up a sketch on that. So now I'm in 45 degrees into the part, and I'm just going to sketch a rectangle here, down here. And I'm going to make it coincident with this center line here. So the way you can do that is, if you right click on that line, you can actually select the midpoint. And if I hold down Control and hit my center line, now I can actually go up here and make it coincident. So that will move it up there. So now this rectangle here is on the midpoint of this line, is on the center point here. All right, let's go ahead and extrude this thing out. Whoops, if I can grab the arrow. So now, oh, I gotta get through the surface, ain't I? So now this thing is sticking up like this here, and that's in 45 degrees, right? Because that plane was right there. So that thing is sticking up in 45 degrees now. Now when I go back in to create this manual turn feature, you will see that, again, CAMWorks shows us this plane selection, right? So if we had to turn this part and later mill something out or do something with it, it wouldn't recognize this little bump. But they actually now over here have a plane revolve selection, and you click on this one here, and it will actually now analyze the model, and you can see how now it actually sees that it has that little bump because it actually analyzes the model and sees it can revolve around. This also works in mill turn too. In mill turn, it might take a few more minutes to do this when you hit that Revolve selection, CAMWorks might be thinking for 20, 30 seconds or something like that. But this is pretty neat, I think. Definitely very useful. You can now go in and use that Revolve section right there. All right. And I didn't select anything. Okay, so let's just go in here and window some stuff. Now where we're at, I'm not going to take the back end there. Now it's going to insert a groove. Operation 2 doesn't really matter. Generate that. All right, the next thing I wanted to show you, if I insert the finish operation here, not for the groove, for the turn finish, that they have added in here, and this gotta be a request from customers. If you go in to your turning operation for your finished cut, there is a thing in here that is approach as is rapid. So pretty much when it comes in to the lead in here, if you check this box and you hit OK, now this is going to be a rapid move with a dotted line compared to being a feed in. Now this have been in CAMWorks before. What they have changed this year is that you can now save this back to the technology database, so it will always be checked if you want it checked. By default, it is unchecked. So this is why I'm thinking that this got to be somebody complained about, that I always have to check this thing. Getting into your technology database from here, you can do by go to feature options and select this technology database here. And now if we go down and we click in here, you will see over in the NC tab that you can now select it, so it would always be on. The last thing I want to show before I finish up here is that they have developed on adding custom turning inserts to your parts, and now you can do it for a couple of more things. You can do it for your roughing operations too. So I just wanted to go in here and create a turning insert and show you how you can make your custom turning inserts and use those in CAMWorks. So I'm going to go in and open up a blank document like this, and I'm just going to sketch in the top plane here. Open up a sketch, and I'm just going to sketch a circle here, and I'm going to put some kind of a diameter on it. Let's make it 250. I'm going to do a fit to screen here, and I'm just going to go ahead and sketch this insert looking something like this. Get it somewhat close, then we can always kind of like take care of things later on. And I'm going to put some dimensions in here, so I'm going to make this one 250, and maybe I want to make this here 130. Let's see, from to the center here, let's make that 1 inch. And then we could go ahead and make this one and this one parallel, maybe like this. And let's see, this thing here is floating around like that, so let's click on that line, hold down Control, hit this one, and make that tangent like that. And what else are we missing? Maybe we need to also give it a dimension from here to here. Make that 250. So now our sketch is fully defined, right? We can see that down here. Now I'm going to go ahead and extrude this. Oh, hang on a second, I forgot to trim that circle. Go back in here, trim. I'm going to use the power trim. Do that there. And now I can go ahead here and extrude this feature up like that. And now we have our insert. Now what we can do is we go to the CAMWorks toolbar over here and we hit the user defined tools. We can go over here and in this box here we can select now the turning insert. So we can see we can also do this for milled tools and holders. But I'm going to hit the insert here, and then we're going to browse it to some kind of a location. I'm just going to throw it right on my desktop for now. Save that, and you can see that that gets an extension down here. So then we have saved that file out. Now, it's recommended that you also save this Solidworks file, because this is where if you want to make any changes to it later on, you can do that. But I don't need this anymore. I could save it. I don't have to save it. Recommend to save it. Of course, I'm going to not save it. So now we had that insert created. So now if I go into CAMWorks and I go into my technology database, and I'm going to go over to tooling, because this is a tool, and it's going to be a turn tool. And in here, I'm going to define this as an insert, and it's going to be a user insert. So now in here, and this is access, right? So now in here, if I go over and hit the star over here, it means that I'm creating a new one. So then I got that. And now I'm going to make this one 100,000. So that one was kind of like created it. We could select the tool material in here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here, and I'm now going to browse to that, to my desktop, to the desktop, and find that file that I just saved out, insert that I just saved or created the profile from. So I'm going to click on this one and click open. So now I got that defined. So now it knows that we have a user insert in here. So I can go back up one. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a turn assembly from this. So I'm going to go into the turn assembly. So first we went to the insert. Now we have the turn assembly. Click on that. And they're going to do the same thing. I want to just scroll all the way down to the bottom. And in here we also have a star. So I'm going to click on that one, meaning we're creating a new one in here. And I'm going to go over here and click the little down arrow. And I'm going to use a user defined, right? So I'm going to hit user defined, and now when I hit on this little thing here, I can now select that user defined insert. What will be this number 2, right? That was one we just created. So I'm going to say close to that one. And by the way, when I test this kind of stuff out, I'm always looking at the ID. So remember 627. That just makes it a little bit easier. Next thing I have to do is select the holder. So I'm just going to go ahead here and click the holder button here. And I'm just going to select the first one I see. We can always mess around with this later on if you want to save, depending on how far you want to go with comments and stuff like that. But in this example, I'm just going to select the default first one in here. And now I'm going to say OK. So now I've actually created this here. Now, if I now go back into CAMWorks, so let's go and open up a part here. I got this turn part here. And I'm going to go in and say insert a turn setup. OK. And I'm going to say that I want to insert a turn feature. And this is going to be an ID feature. So I'm going to go in and say ID feature. And it's going to be some kind of a groove feature. One of the things that is nice about CAMWorks, I know compared to some other integrated programs, is that we can actually, right in here, we can actually still, while we're in this menu, we can actually click right on here, outside here, and we will actually get the diameters down here. So you can use this to kind of like get an idea about what diameter you want. So when you go in here and you want to select some kind of a bore diameter, depending on what tool you want, you can go in here and you can select whatever you want. So I'm going to go in and select this here, and then we are ready to pick some stuff that we want to use. So I'm just going to go in and select these 3 edges right here. And we got our ID here. I'm going to generate that. And now we got our roughing and we got our finishing in here. I'm just going to go ahead and do the roughing one. So I'm generate that one. And we will see that right now I went out to the technology database and picked whatever we had there. So it comes with a boring bar right there, right? And it looks like it is a little bit big, but for this hole. But the point is that there is that tool. Now if we go in to this operation now, and we go into the tool, go to our tool crib, and let's go and add a tool. So I'm going to hit add and go down and hit the turn tool. Now I can go down to the bottom, and here we see that 624, right? This is where we created that turn tool. So I'm going to hit OK to that. And now we got this turn tool here. Hit select. And we're going to have to adjust where it is located in here for whatever we want to do. But in this case here, we can just go in here and we can tweak these numbers. I'm just going to place it somewhere in here for the point. But I mean, you can see that I can already see it in my preview here, our insert here. So if we go ahead and say OK, now it's actually going to use, it's not going to use that insert the way that I set it up there, that's for sure. Because I set it up as a left down. Let's see. Wrong way. Okay. There we go. So now we can see here that it will step through and we can actually see it here. And of course, this would also work where it's really ideal is when you go and you simulate through here, right? It would actually use that insert for this. I know that this example is kind of bad, it's cutting with the back end, but it would actually use this insert to do that. So that's one of the things they added that to the roughing operations. A couple of more different things where you can now make these custom inserts. So that's about what I had kind of like lined up here. It took 45 minutes. I sure hope that you guys had a chance to learning something new or see a couple of things that you may want to use for something. If there's any questions, you guys are more than welcome to put inside the question down in the bottom there, and if I can't answer them right now, then we can definitely I will email you guys back with that. One thing is what versions are we on? So if we go over to our help menu over here, of course for SolidWorks you can go down to About SolidWorks under the help, and that will show you what service pack you're on here. For CAMWorks, you can go to the CAMWorks thing. So this one is sitting right down here too, and you can go in and click on that one, and you will see what service pack you're on that too. And so that actually works pretty well, that you kind of like have this CAMWorks thing sitting underneath the SolidWorks Help. So that's where you can find that kind of stuff right there. All right, guys. I hope that you guys found this helpful. And again, if you don't already, my email address is right here, lars@catdimensions.com. If there's anything you guys have any questions about or comments about, then definitely let me know. One of the things that I've heard rumored for the next release is some mill turn stuff. So that could definitely be that should be interesting. But I think that they threw in some good things this year. There's a couple of things more, so if you want to check out the what's new, you will see some other things in there. But this was what I kind of like thought was some neat things. So thank you everybody for attending. And again, any questions, email me, and thank you.